the buttons and the live. You see this? This is the first time I'm finally getting to wear it.
Oh, neat.
They're
Neat.
so funny. They're doing more stuff with Miko and Flit.
Yeah.
Which makes me happy because I love them. I think they're so funny. Hi,
because
guys.
Because they are. Hi, everybody.
They are. Hi, hi, hi. Hi, hi, hi.
I've told you before that Alice and
I'm not Alice.
I know. Often make the joke in a situation like this.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, hello. Because on Edward R. Murrow's famous live television show in the 50s, Person to Person, this legendary, not hype word, legendary newscaster, Edward R. Murrow, did something sort of lighthearted, interviewing celebrities in their homes.
Uh-huh.
But in those days, to do a live broadcast from somebody's home or apartment meant bringing in like a diesel truck full of, equipment, heavy equipment, lots of cables, lots of lights, heavy duty cameras, a big crew. So they would sometimes, he would introduce the celebrity before actually talking to the celebrity.
Yeah.
The celebrity would say, "Oh, hi, Ed."
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. Nice to have you with us. I love that. I love this sort of ridiculous pomp and circumstance of different times. Of time is gone by.
Time is gone by.
As they says. Hello.
Hi.
Well, the best news is you watched a really good movie yesterday.
Yes. I can't review it yet.
Nope. But see, again, I stand by. When you like something, they don't mind. It's only when you're like, this was crap, and let me tell you all about it.
Well, on that basis,
I'm just saying.
Without going into great detail, because that would be an actual review.
Yeah.
We saw the new Pixar film Luca.
Yes.
Last night, and really liked it a lot.
My mom said she cried.
Yeah.
And she loved it. So
it's a lovely film.
Yeah.
And it's a Pixar film in that it's a one-off. It's not based on any property, story, book, play. It's an original piece with characters you've never met before and that are unlike any characters you've seen in any other Disney or Pixar film before.
Ain't that something?
And there's some story tropes that, ring a familiar bell, but it's awfully good.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Hey, I watched a really good movie. Isn't that nice? Yes. I gave Infinite a try, which is the new Mark Wahlberg film. And I made it to 15 minutes. And I said, life is too short. And I turned it off. Which again,
because you can't.
Because I can. People ask us about walking out of movies. Do we ever walk out? That sort of thing. And the answer is, for the most part, no, we don't walk out of theaters. But at home, sometimes.
All bets are off.
Yeah. So I did this wonderful thing where I turned it off and watched anything else.
Because why prolong?
And that was a really good choice on my part, I feel.
Why prolong the punishment?
Exactly. What I watched last night, I had not seen Frozen 2. I felt like watching something enjoyable. Yes, you're saying Zoolander 2. Yes, that is one movie my dad walked out of. You are correct. One.
And I made an issue of it.
And you talked about why you did that.
Yes. And the headline of my review was why I walked out of Zoolander 2. Because I felt I couldn't honestly review a movie I hadn't seen more than a half hour.
Yeah.
But I could review that half hour.
You could review that half hour. and you did. Still one of the funniest phone calls, because normally if my dad goes to a movie without me or my mom, usually you're with one of us. We sort of know, all right, if the movie's at 6 or 7, whatever it is, we'll hear from him around 9. In this case, you called me at 7 something. And I thought, why is he calling me so early? He goes, I left. It was terrible. And I left. And I thought, I think we've told this story, but it always makes me laugh. We were at Fantastic Fest and watching a movie.
And I was on a jury.
You were. And the thing I always say, I love Logan. Logan is shredding things. Yeah. Hello, handsome. I am someone who, at this point in my life, if I think something is terrible enough, and I mean like really terrible, I may leave. It's rare, but it does happen. And in this particular situation, we were all sitting there. It was a later movie. It was probably 9 or 10 o'clock, something like that. And we're sitting and we're all watching, and the movie was just god awful. And I mean, like, nothing redeeming. This is just terrible. And we're sitting there.
And you knew, and you articulated to me, there was no way this was going to get a jury vote.
No. Well, see, that was the whole point, was that if you're watching this for the purpose of voting for it to win something, and the movie is this bad for this long, I feel like even if it turned around,
which never happens,
but even if it did, what are you going to excuse the first half hour as being just miserable? And so I looked to my dad and I was like, can we just leave? Can we please go? And he, of course, says, no, I can't walk out of movies. And I said, I know, but this is terrible. And I'm tired and you're tired, and we have so many more movies to see the next day.
And there were other jury members, of course.
There were other jury members in the house. And finally, my dad was like, you know what? Okay, we're hating this. Let's just leave. And almost as soon as I walked out, as the two of us walked out, our fellow jury members walked out, and they said, we figured if you could, we could. And then about 10 other people walked out and said the same thing. Well, we figured if you guys could leave, we should leave too, if we're having such a terrible time. Now, again, I'm not one to lead a crusade, but just life is short, man. And every now and then you have to just go, do you know what? I want to do something else. And yeah, that was, I don't regret it. And it was really funny because we ended up all just hanging out in the lobby afterwards going, that was really terrible. How are you? So yeah, that's funny life memories for sure. I watched Frozen 2 last night, as I say. I had never seen it. And there's a reason no one talks about it. It's not very good, is it? 2 or 3 songs are good. And then there's the rest of the movie. So that was one of those things. I called you and I went, so I watched Frozen 2. And you went, yeah. And
not close to being.
You had a better one than I did. But I did watch the first episode of, what's it called? It's on Apple TV. The thing that stars Brooklyn Prince. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but I can't remember the name.
I'll look her up. It just, the first episode has just happened. And that's what there she is. Brooklyn Prince. Man, this little girl is something, by the way. Home Before Dark. That's what it's called. And it's on Apple. It's on Apple TV, and she's the lead. And then Jim Sturgis plays her father, who's such a good actor. But yeah, the first episode I thought was really good, and she's precocious, but not in an obnoxious way. You know, sometimes that precocious kid thing really teeters on the edge of murder the child and, oh, she's interesting. So yeah, I like that first episode. Good. We'll see where we go from here.
We're still in retrospective mode. And after we watched Luca, went upstairs, read some stuff, and said, and it was getting late. And I said, want to watch the IT Crowd with me? We have just, Alice and I started watching IT Crowd, which Jesse has,
I've seen
Scott,
it
her husband,
7,000 times. I put it on constantly. There's never a bad time for the IT Crowd, ever. I recommend it to every single one of you. So damn funny.
It's a very funny show, which was done when?
It's 2000 something.
It's a British show that stars Chris O'Dowd and Richard Ayoade. And the woman's name is?
Well, this is one of those interesting things. She, her name's Catherine Parkinson. That's her name. She, where the rest of the cast works all the time, she doesn't. And it's so interesting to me that she doesn't, because this show was such a hit. It was a 2009 or something. Let's see. Tell me the year of you. He doesn't want to tell me the year of you. Yeah, it's the early 2000s-ish. IMDb is not helping. There you go. 2006. It says to 2013, but there's only there's four seasons, and they're short. There's only 25 episodes in total, which is why I have watched the whole thing over and over and over again.
I could see returning to this.
Oh man, Matt Berry is in it. Matt Berry, one of the actual funniest humans. Noel Fielding. I love Noel Fielding so much. It's
Anglophile daughter here.
Yeah, I love British, anything. It's such a good show. And I'm so glad you guys are enjoying it.
Oh yeah.
And I also feel like now you're going to understand about 90% of our jokes.
Right. But the thing is that when it's getting late at night, you want something light.
Yeah.
Preferably half hour, not hour.
Yeah.
And nothing too raucous or upsetting, certainly.
Yep.
Like we love Last Week with John Oliver, Last Week Tonight. But we don't want to watch that.
No, you don't want to get depressed.
Yeah,
you don't want to hear about everything going wrong.
He's dealing with current events, and that's just not a happy place.
Which I should say, by the way, to anybody who is an Austinite, my heart goes out to you. / good grief, I'm so happy. I've spoken to a lot of friends, and they're safe, and I'm thrilled. But do not like these shootings. Nobody likes shootings, but it's very scary when you know the place and you know it well. So anybody there, we're thinking about you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't really want to watch news. You just want to watch something that makes you laugh, that relaxes you. As a Brit, I always find it crazy to know you guys have watched something like the IT Crowd. I love Peep Show / that Mitchell and Webb look. I watch all of those shows. I watch the shows that only had 1 season, 2 seasons. I've seen stuff that you can't even find online anymore. I watch all of it. I love that stuff.
Your mother started watching, and I dipped into it a little bit with her, a show done in 2018, or it began in 2018, with John Cleese and Alison Steadman, called Hold That Sunset.
Yes.
And because we like the two of them so much.
Well, who doesn't want to watch John Cleese?
Yeah.
Never a bad time.
And it's amusing. And it's just, pleasant.
Yeah. Am I Black Books fan? Yeah. Again, I love Mighty Boosh. I love all that stuff. I think comedy is the thing we do best. Would you agree? Absolutely. I think that British comedy it's the best.
Friday Night Dinner.
Oh God, Friday Night Dinner. Friday Night Dinner is so, and that actor just passed away.
Yes.
Which is so sad.
Like the father, yeah.
No, I'm a sucker for it. It's why I love being in the UK in general, because that's my sense of humor. But man, oh no, some of these, there's just so many good shows.
And on Sunday night, this is less in your ballpark than mine. On Sunday night, Alice and I have taken to watching on YouTube, What's My Line?
Yeah.
One of the longest running shows on American television. And it was a panel, not a game show, a panel show. There aren't many of those anymore. They're games or.
Well, there are, but they're just different.
Yeah.
It's just different.
A panel show that used to air at 10:30 p.m. Sunday nights on CBS. And so that's when we try to watch it now. Sort of maintaining a tradition, as it were. And it's so much of its time, 50s and 60s primarily. And the panel, it's New York based, done live from New York. The host is John Daly, a newsman in real life. That was his day job. And so he's very erudite, and sometimes his erudition becomes hilarious because he's trying to explain something about a clue or about a question they've asked, and he becomes so verbose. Even the panel is laughing because they understand what he's saying. They're intelligent people.
It's just more than necessary.
The anchor panel consists of Bennett Cerf, who was one of the founders of Random House Publishers, and Dr. Seuss's publisher, in fact, who also was an inveterate punster and a compiler, in fact, a columnist and an author of humor books. Endless numbers of books collecting jokes, collecting anecdotes. And he's very witty. And Dorothy Kilgallen, very famous newspaper columnist of that day, who was column Voice of Broadway, running many newspapers coast to coast. I think in New York it was the New York Journal American. Arlene Francis, a Broadway actress, one-time member of the Mercury Theater with Orson Welles. And then a rotating guest panelist. Originally, Fred Allen was on the panel, and he passed away in 1955, I think. And so they kept, and then all sorts of people. So Jerry Lewis shows up there.
Well, that's because it's just like now when someone is promoting something and you see them on every single show. There's a reason you see them on every single show. They're doing the circuit. It's the same. There were a handful of things that you would do, and that's one of them. What we always say we enjoy so much about that show and those shows in general is we love the way they speak to each other because it is so proper. Yeah, and
first off, they're dressed black tie.
Yeah.
And the two women are very
elegant. Is it
elegant.
black tie or cocktail? Because do they wear tuxes? I feel like they don't.
Well, they're wearing tuxedo.
Yeah. They all look beautiful and perfect.
Yeah.
And there's we were talking about black and white. There's something about black and white, in part because you don't have, might sound silly, but you don't have the distraction of color in that you don't know if someone's wearing a bright red dress. They could be, but you don't know. So everything just looks beautiful and uniform and just so. And they're
Mr. Surf,
Mr. O'Keel Gowan. And what would be the questions that they ask if you're trying to figure out what someone does? And so you're going, would you say that your line of work puts you in front of the community? Do you find yourself dealing with animals, mammals? It's just very. It's
or
very.
If it's a product, is it bigger than a bread box?
Yeah, is it bigger than a bread? Is it bigger than a bread box?
And then of course the highlight of the show, the unquestioned highlight of the show, is the appearance of a mystery guest.
Yes.
And the panelists are blindfolded.
Yep.
And the mystery guest comes in and signs in, please, on their chalkboard. And when that mystery guest walks in, we, the television viewer, don't see him or her right away, but the studio audience goes wild.
And you see them writing their name.
Yeah. So recently we've seen Fred Astaire, Louis Armstrong.
When you said Louis Armstrong, because the thing is, sometimes they don't let the guest speak if the voice is too recognizable.
They usually go, yes, no.
They try to do funny, but I said, how the hell do you disguise Louis Armstrong? What does he do to not sound like
him? He did it very well. And Walt Disney, it's kind of mind-blowing.
I know.
Walt Disney, he was a real person.
No.
He's there on this show. Oh, my goodness. Jimmy Cagney. Oh, well. Anyway, some people on YouTube have compiled just the mystery guest segments,
the best,
which I feel is a little unfair. I like seeing the whole show.
But it's fun.
Yes,
and again, whatever sort of gets you to this show is fine with me.
Yeah.
So if watching the mystery guests makes you happy, then by all means, just watch the mystery guests.
And that's a rabbit hole that you can spend a lot of time in. Yeah. The show is on for more than 20 years. So.
But again, it's also just, there's just something really pleasant about it because of the way they address each other. And when you make someone laugh and things like that, it's just, it's special, I think. Let's see if I can get to Gave Up on Gladiator. Fair enough. Got any Meet Me in St. Louis goodies? Watched on TCM Friday night, which was Judy's birthday.
So did your mother.
Yeah. It's just never a bad.
I'm sort of half watching and half reading.
I love that movie.
What's not to love? Well, I mean, this trivia is the same trivia you probably know, or that maybe they may have even said on, I think Alicia introduced it, that Leon Ames, who plays the father and who sings along with Mary Astor when she's playing an old-time sentimental song called You and I. And his singing voice was dubbed by the movie's producer, Arthur Freed, who was also the songwriter behind Singing in the Rain and all those songs that were used in Singing in the Rain. I don't remember what else. Margaret O'Brien is just irresistible in that movie. I think that's the word. She's irresistible.
She's wonderful.
Yeah.
She's really wonderful. Oh, hi, Ryan. Ryan says, hi, Mr. Maltin, and happy early birthday to you, Jesse. Thank you. It's always such a pleasure getting to see both of you. Thank you, Ryan. Yeah, it's my birthday this week on Wednesday. I assume you got me diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
Very exciting stuff. All I really care about is I get a rainbow cake every year,
Mm-hmm.
and it tastes magical. And that's really all I need to celebrate. I've got family, I got dogs, and I've got cake. And that is really, as I say, all I ask for in life. Jamie says he just saw the interview you did with Diane Disney Miller, and it was wonderful. Thank you. I guess, because obviously you interviewed her a number of times, but I don't know which.
I don't know which one that would be.
Yeah, he's done it. Did it quite a lot. And she was just, Diane was great. She was just a lot of fun and really smart. And
she didn't try to impress you.
No.
I'm Walt Disney's daughter.
No. I think that's probably one of the things I would say about Roy E. And Diane is that you wouldn't know who they were if you didn't know who they were. And I always think of Howard's wedding and Roy sitting there just being there as someone who loved him and cared. And I think those are the best people, are the ones where you really wouldn't know what they did if no one told you.
Yeah.
You know? But her stories, of course, are incredible. And she was very close to her father. They all were.
Yeah.
It was a very close family. So
her sister Sharon died much too young.
Yeah.
And Diane died much too young.
Yeah.
Never a good time to pass on. But
I'm glad that at least she got the museum going.
She got the museum built
and created it. Yep. And it's a beautiful.
We're talking about the Walt Disney Family Museum at the Presidio in San Francisco.
It's a little bit of a pain to find, but so worth it. It's a very special place. And the reason, we've talked to you about it before, but the reason that they put it up there is that Diane wanted it separated from Disneyland. They wanted this to be about Walt Disney and the stuff that they really cared about.
Also, she and her husband,
they live there.
Live there. So,
it's crazy to think they're both gone now.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is a very special place, and we always recommend it. Anytime I know someone's going up, it's so worth your time. Just very, very special place, very personal. And if you are a Disney person, it's a must. Even if you're not, but if you are, then you have to go to the museum. It is such a cool place to go. Looking through your questions. A couple of people are talking about seeing Frozen 2 and going, eh. Lynn says, my daughter Claire has a question for Leonard. What did you think of the original animated Watership Down film, and have you seen the Netflix series?
No, I've not seen the Netflix series. That's the easier part of the question. My memories of Watership Down are dim, I must confess.
Watery?
I never, blurry.
Blurry.
I never read the book, so I had no investment, no expectations. And it was unusual then, and still now, to do a serious movie in the animated medium. So everyone applauded the effort. Not everybody enjoyed the film, but everyone applauded their good intentions.
It's, again, it's so funny. So much of your experience can be when you see something, how old you are, who you see it with. One of the first movies I saw without you guys was Liar Liar. And I went with a friend and her mom. And I remember that we went to the theater that is up on Ventura in Tarzana. I remember where we went to see it. And I remember laughing so hard we kept falling out of our seats. It's still a really funny movie, but that's one of those things that's just,
And that was when Jim Carrey was on fire.
Oh yeah. And Swoozie Kurtz is great. Everybody's, really good in it. But yeah, it is there. When do you see something? How old are you? What went on? All that kind of stuff. It's such a, it's really, it amazes me. Well, I mean, like you talking about remembering Snow White and what that was like, and you were a little kid.
Yep.
But it's
an indelible memory.
It's something that you can still see. You close your eyes and you know exactly where you were in that moment. Just something really special. So Mark has a question for you. that he sent me the other day. 2 parts, but the same subject. The question is, did Leonard ever meet Roddy McDowall? And I read that Roddy had written an autobiography, but wanted it to come out many years after he passed away because he wanted to make sure the people he wrote about were dead. Any truth to that story?
I can't confirm or deny that story, and
Mhm.
I'd have to ask somebody who was much closer to Roddy.
Yes.
I knew as an acquaintance,
Yeah.
a very friendly acquaintance, but can't pretend that we were buddies.
No, but you had some really lovely
I had some wonderful
moments.
experiences with him. But it would figure that would be true because he had a very wide circle of friends in Hollywood. He was known for his dinner parties and gatherings, and the last thing he would do would be betray a friendship.
Yeah, never want to hurt anyone.
Or to hurt anybody consciously. And but he was always available to me for interviews for Entertainment Tonight, and we did stories on How Green Was My Valley and Last He Come Home, and other things. And he was great. He was just great.
Yeah. Doug is saying, name a movie where the acting was better than the script, or the script was better than the acting. I think it happens all the time, to be honest with you. You watch something and you think, well, that was a lot of really good people dealing with some really awful material. Or the other way around, where you think maybe it just needed a different person in that role.
Yeah, some people get miscast sometimes. That happens. I can't think of a good example. Well, I'll go back in time. My early days at Entertainment Tonight, a film came out called Rhinestone, starring Sylvester Stallone and Dolly Parton. And it was a very contrived film about the music business. And but they were really good. So they gave it their best shot. So when I wrote my review, I said, I'm not going to be a wise guy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make a smart alecky, review out of this. And so I dodged all of those things and said, what a shame that, two such charismatic people are in, a substandard film like this. And about a week later, my colleague Jeannie Wolf was covering some event, and there was Stallone. And she said, Sly, come over and say hello to E.T. He says, oh, Jeannie, I'd like to help you, but I can't. Not after what that man said about that movie on your show. I mean, I don't mind constructive criticism, but he was vicious. You can't win.
No, you weren't. Yeah. It's a tricky thing. It's it always comes back to this. No one wants to be told they have an ugly baby. And when someone works on something, whatever that is, a painting, a book, you name it, no one wants to be told that you don't like it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where it's like you completely understand and respect it. It's just awkward.
I've had very nice encounters with Mr. Stallone in the many years since then, including him coming to my class when Ryan Coogler, USC graduate Ryan Coogler, brought Creed.
Yes.
And he had about 8 of his colleagues there, all of whom had been students with him. But
you remember what Scott said about Sylvester Stallone?
No.
My husband, because it was the first time that he was seeing him in person, my husband looks at me and says, disappointingly small. And so every now and then we just look at each other and say, disappointingly small. Because Sylvester Stallone, you imagine this huge, hulking guy.
Big personality.
Not a very large human being, though.
Yeah.
As many times they're not. But yeah, Scott's face when he saw him just kind of went, aw. But yeah, that was a blast.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler's always, he's one of the hype men that you want. He's perfect for that kind of a thing. There's a handful of people, like you said, like Will Smith is the hype man that you want. Will Smith, at the Oscar nominees luncheon, just like
cheering on
he is there to have a good time, and I love him for that. I will say, if you do enjoy being on Twitter and you like following film people, Barry Jenkins and Sean Baker are 2 people who post such interesting stuff. Sean,
whose latest film is going to be at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yes, which is very exciting. He and Chris Bergosh, who are genuinely 2 of the loveliest people you could ever meet. Passionate, dedicated, just really, really nice guys. Sean is a movie nut.
Yeah.
and he's a Francophile like you. They love French cinema. When we had Sean Baker on our show, on the podcast, Sean brought this list with him of all the movies he wanted to talk to my dad about. And I loved that.
Yeah.
And you guys just had a blast.
So speaking of it, before we get too far from Ryan Coogler.
Yes.
A proud USC cinema graduate and former student in my class. I'm thinking of this as a good segue to talk about another person who took my class at USC, John M. Chu.
Yeah.
Who just directed In the Heights, which is now available on HBO Max.
Yes.
And it's also in theaters.
Yes. HBO Max, if you can get it to work.
Yeah. But he really pulled off something special here with this adaptation of Lin-Manuel Miranda's show. And reading all sorts of interesting background stories about it and all that. It's and I got to see it in a theater, which was great.
I was supposed to go. I didn't feel well, so my dad saw it without us. My mom and I are going to watch it here at home.
It'll make you want to cheer. Well,
that's so Josh Clement went and saw it last night, and he and I were talking. This is one of my friends. We've grown up with him, and we're both musical theater nerds. And he was saying, so he's checked one of the 9 2021 musical films off his list because Annette, Carmen, Cinderella, Cyrano, Dear Evan Hansen, everybody's talking about Jamie, In the Heights, Tick, Tick, Boom, and West Side Story are all coming. That's a lot of musicals, guys. That's a lot of musicals.
I hope they're all as good as this one.
I hope so too.
Not that I don't have some reservations.
Of course,
I have to. I have to say when I came out of the theater, it's a long movie, as movies go, and the highlights are such highlights, and are so spectacular and so invigorating that when they do sort of the transitional scenes, in some cases, not only you feel kind of a letdown at the moment, but I found my mind wandering a little bit. I
am really happy, though, that and this is a very Lin-Manuel Miranda thing, he is a very loyal person, and you'll see that he casts a lot of the same folks again and again in his musicals, but also in these kinds of projects. And seeing so many people who were on Broadway, the fact that they're going to be in the film, I just love that.
I want to give credit to his librettist
who
wrote the screenplay, and I have not yet memorized her name.
Sure. 1 second. Josh is going to go see at the Lemley, the Rita Moreno doc. Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
No. What is that? Is that only going to be in theaters? Do you know?
It is, I think.
Yeah. Well, we'll just have to hop over to our local Lemley. Yeah, Chiara Allegria Hudes.
Chiara Allegria Hudes.
There's a reason. It's Q-U-I-A-R-A.
Chiara.
For those of you playing along at home, which is why it's harder to remember. Hi, Javi. I am going to be watching the movie today because the Werewolves Within, because tomorrow we are interviewing Sam Richardson, which I'm really excited about. And gosh, there is someone saying, how do we feel about West Side Story? And hi, Lokes. And the answer is, as always, just hope it's good.
Yep.
Rooting
for it.
We just hope that it's good. That's all we can. Hi, Logan. That's all we can hope for. Are you excited about West Side Story? Are you excited about West Side Story? He says maybe. He's not sure. He's a Spielberg fan, but he just wants to maybe keep his thoughts to himself for the moment. He's not 100% sure as to how he feels, which I understand. Henrik says, in my opinion, The Addams Family is one of the most perfectly cast films ever. Raul Julia as Gomez, Angelica Houston as Morticia, etc. Everyone is in hand to glove. What film or films are also perfectly cast? Addams Family is one of the best ever.
It's hard to top that.
Addams Family.
And I interviewed Angelica Houston around that time, maybe when they were doing the second one or so. And I said something about how perfect, and she said, yes,
we agree.
We agree. They knew it was, just perfect.
Yeah. And they are, and it holds up, and you watch it There's something great because any movie that isn't set in a specific time has a better chance of aging well.
That's right. That's right.
Because you don't really think about it. So yeah, maybe some kids are going to see a VHS and not know what that is. But in general, it's, it's its own sort of animal. And the Addams Family movies they're just so good.
They're doing a Wednesday series now.
Yeah.
Somebody's doing that.
We'll see. They should just bring back Christina Ricci forever, right?
Yeah.
That's what makes the most sense.
Sure.
That's what makes the most sense.
I, of course, being a fan of cartoons, that is to say, magazine panel cartoons, which exist almost exclusively in the New Yorker now. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there's any other places where people can see them. But that's where the Addams Family was born, because they were the work of a cartoonist named Charles Addams, 2 Ds, Addams. And he started doing these somewhat, not bizarre, grand guignol. How do I describe it?
I don't know. Unique, dark, macabre, that's the one. Macabre, with
macabre sense of humor. And he started doing these cartoons for the New Yorker, and they took on a life of their own.
Yeah.
They were never called the Addams Family, and they didn't have names for the characters for the longest time. They just sort of were. And there's some old hardcover, maybe they're still in print even, anthologies of Addams cartoons.
Oh, yeah.
One called Drawn and Quartered, which is kind of perfect. And then in the 60s, somebody licensed the rights from Mr. Addams to do that TV series with John Astin and Carolyn Jones, and with that unforgettable theme song, click, click, I can never snap my fingers. Thank you. So, and that put them into the mainstream. People who never had seen one of Addams' cartoon panels watched that show and loved that show and loved that theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, in a similar line, this is interesting, but Rob Zombie has just announced he's going to be doing a Munsters movie. And some people immediately are going, I'm excited. I love the Munsters. And I think Rob Zombie is someone who, because he loves it too, I think might do a good job. As always, though, you have to love that all someone does is make an announcement and everyone has 8,000 opinions.
Yeah.
And you want to say, guys, just watch, wait till it exists and watch it.
I'm still thinking about that perfect, other examples of perfect casting.
Singing in the Rain.
Well, yeah, but any great
classics
movie, great movie, you could say is well cast. I'm trying to think of other unusual roles that turned out really well. I've got to ponder that. Got to ponder that a little bit.
I'm laughing thinking about something like Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. Yeah, I don't know. The Munsters needs to be done in black and white. Yeah, here's hoping.
Well,
again, we'll see though.
Nice.
But you know what? Color, if done right, can be cool too.
Yes, if it's not bright, lollipop color.
Yeah, color can be fun as well. You never know. That's why I say there's no point in having a million opinions on something that doesn't even exist yet. Let's wait till it happens and then we can figure it out.
Yeah.
Christopher says that he recently bought Limelight because of your podcast interview with Norman Lloyd, but was interested in seeing Charlie Chaplin and Buster together. Yeah, of course. That's
now,
a big
an
deal.
interesting thing about that, when I first saw that film, I wondered why, when you see Charlie and Buster doing their stage act together, why there were these silences. Instead of hearing the audience laughing. It was deliberate. Charlie was allowing space for the movie audience to laugh at them. And so now if you watch it alone at home, you may chuckle or you may be amused, but you're not going to be laughing out loud.
It's different.
Taking up 4 or 5 seconds of time.
It's different.
So the timing plays out differently, maybe not to its benefit.
Yeah. But again, you know, that's very much of its time.
Yeah.
You know, how do you sort of take something out of where it exists and bring it to today? A few people are mentioning some of theirs that they think are the best. This guy's saying Die Hard, perfectly cast.
Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Fabulous Baker Boys. Raul Julia in Tempest.
Raul Julia in almost
anything. Yeah. I watched PBS did a great piece on him. And it was just wonderful to watch because, of course, he died much too young.
Yeah.
And was so brilliant. I think that's also one of the things that with something like Addams Family is that they are all frozen.
Yeah.
In that.
Yeah.
You know, they're frozen in that time very specifically.
We'll always have that to remember them.
And especially for him.
Yeah.
There's something really special about that. Lion in Winter. What else to say? There's a couple people are throwing out that are funny. Raiders of the Lost Ark. Great Escape is a perfect cast. Interesting. The other thing,
now we interviewed James L. Brooks on our podcast, the one that just dropped on Friday.
He's done so much. How do you even? It's overwhelming.
We packed a lot into that 1 hour.
We tried.
Of talk. But I asked him a lingering question about terms of endearment and whether it was true, as I had read, that Burt Reynolds was initially cast in the role that Jack Nicholson played so well and so memorably. And that began an association between Nicholson and Brooks that went on for a long, long time.
Yeah.
To their mutual benefit.
Can I just say, the thing that brings me the most joy is anyone you know who has worked with Jack Nicholson only has good things to say. And for someone who is sort of known as being this kind of ornery, not necessarily friendly, you know, all that, the fact that he, as I say, everyone we've ever spoken to about this says he is a consummate professional, really loves what he does and takes it very seriously. And what a wonderful thing to hear about someone so consistently. You know?
I remember Alexander Payne telling me when they made About Schmidt on location in Omaha, Alexander's hometown, that Nicholson rented a house, or somebody had arranged to rent a house for the duration of the stay.
And he was just normal.
And had no entourage.
No.
Had no entourage, was there to make the movie, and no muss, no fuss. And Alexander said, this is much earlier in his career, Alexander said that he knew that in the future, if he ever encountered bad behavior in a big movie star, he could always say, well, Jack Nicholson didn't do that.
Which then has to come with one of these and just go, you know, Jack Nicholson never did it. But it's true. There is something really glorious about that. And knowing that someone who is that caliber is not someone who's just, it's not BS. You know, he really is that person. Speaking of your friend Norman Lloyd, did you learn his daughter Josie died? Did you know her?
No, I did not.
No.
Sorry to say.
Another sad, Bob Burns, if you know the name Bob Burns, which if you are a monster person, you will. His wife Kathy just passed away. Bob is a legend in the monster makers world. And he lives here not far from us. And he collects
props,
everything,
props and other souvenirs, shall we call them, of notable fantasy, science fiction, and horror movies.
And he loves to share them.
Yeah.
He doesn't have them to hoard them. He has them to share. Though I do remember going as a little kid, and he had the werewolf mid-transformation on the ground, like curled up like that. And it scared the ever-loving crap out of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big one. As I say, if you don't know the name, look him up. There are a lot of videos because again, he's very happy to share his collection. Yeah. And seeing his stuff is just wild.
He saved the original Time Machine from the George Pal movie of the same name, and he so many things. If we start, we'll
yeah. As I say, if you don't know his name, or even if you are familiar, go onto YouTube and you will find a lot of interviews with him, and as I say, a lot of videos about what he collected. dogs.
It was a big influence on Rick Baker.
Huge, huge. Rick's the one who first posted about Kathy.
Yeah.
Rick's the one who sort of broke the news to everyone. But what happened to the Forrest Ackerman, to all of Forrest Ackerman's collection?
It was auctioned off and piecemeal, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
So it doesn't exist as a collection anymore. Fari kept trying to find somebody who would take it all or purchase it all, so there could be sort of a ready-made museum.
Yeah.
But
not everyone
did not come to pass.
Willing to do that, which is difficult. I guess Happiest Millionaire was on because a bunch of people are asking about that film. It was just on TV, and they're asking if you have any thoughts on that.
Not one of my favorites. It was the last live-action film that Walt Disney was hands-on, involved with, and so it was released after his death.
Yeah.
And it was a very long movie. And when they first previewed it, they realized it was too long for Radio City Music Hall, which needed a certain turnover. So it got shortened, and then it got restored to the original length in more recent years. Yeah, recent times.
Someone's asking, how is the Academy Museum coming along? It's almost there. It's pretty close.
They're going to open September, at the end of September. There's no indication they won't.
No. They've worked really hard. They have kinks that need to be worked out as well. And but yeah,
I'm Mommy said we should be charter members. I said yeah, so we joined.
Of course you did.
We officially joined.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be here, and I hope that so far what we know, because my dad's been a part of some of the presentations that they've done, sort of in-house. Hopefully there'll be a lot of stuff there that when people come to LA, they can see some real Hollywood history.
Yeah, and not just Hollywood history, but film, world cinema history.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Amy wants to know, what is your favorite attraction or show at Disneyland?
Same as so many other people's. Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean. I used to love going to the Nickelodeon.
I was going to say, don't lie. I know what your favorite thing is.
Yeah, the Nickelodeon on Main Street, which really isn't there anymore. It's just a shell of what it used to be.
Yeah.
I used to love to put a quarter in the player piano.
That's his favorite.
They had some automatons, some mutoscopes.
Yeah.
They may still have a couple of the mutoscopes.
They do. They have a handful of them in the candy stores when you walk down Main Street. That's your favorite thing. You're not a big rides person.
No.
But you love, like I do. See, for me, I don't actually care about the rides at all. Let me walk down Main Street, sit there all day, and I'm a very happy camper because I just love seeing it. And also knowing the history and seeing the pieces of, sorry, just sinking.
Yeah.
Looking in the windows. Again, most Disney folks, people who love this stuff know, but they dedicate different windows along Main Street to different people, and you can read them, and that's also just one of those cool things, cool Disney things.
Someone say, show me your movie matchbooks, Leonard?
Everyone's been asking. They've said, Leonard, where are your movie matchbooks?
Well, one of the things I like to show is this kind of stuff, which is still something you can find.
Yes.
And not go broke trying to collect. Matchbooks, well, another change in our society, in our world. Smoking is being discouraged so many places. But in the not so olden days, every restaurant, every bar, had giveaway matchbooks. And so someone decided early on, hey, what a great form of advertising. Got to put something on the matchbook. So a lot of movie. So
here's a Duel in the Sun here.
Now this is an unusually good one because it's got the logo of the movie there.
Yep. And then on the back it says the picture of 1,000 memorable moments. The Senator rides again, as played by Lionel Barrymore.
Which means that there is more than one Duel in the Sun matchbook. Collect them all. Now open it up and see if there's anything inside.
Like matches or
something? No.
I'm kidding. I know. No. So it says David O. Selznick presents Jennifer Jones, Joseph Cotton, Gregory Peck, Lionel Barrymore, Lillian Gish, Walter Houston, Herbert Marshall, Charles Bickford, Joan Tetzel, Harry Carey, Otto Kruger, Sidney Blackmer, Tilly Loesch, Scott McKay, Butterfly McQueen in Duel in the Sun. And it says, in Technicolor, directed by King Vidor, a Selznick International picture released through United Artists. You can't really see that because it's behind some of the matches. But you can kind of get an idea.
In the 40s, Republic Pictures issued extra wide matchbooks.
More space for advertising.
That's right. Turn it over and you'll see a photo of the actual studio in Studio City. Not far from where we are in the San Fernando Valley. It's now the CBS Studio Center on Radford Street. Yep. But when you open this one,
the picture that may change your life, The Cheaters, starring Joseph
Schildkraut.
Sure, that's got a whole bunch more stuff. Again, being careful with it.
So again, there's more than one of these. Collect them all. There's other Republic pictures being featured there. And here are two where if you remove the matches, you can get a little panoramic souvenir of The Thief of Baghdad starring Sabu. Or Cecil B. DeMille's epic Samson and Delilah.
Paramount's Samson and Delilah is the greatest love story since the beginning of man and woman. Watch for it at your favorite theater soon. This one's a bit faded, but you can still see.
Now this one has fallen apart, sorry to say. But it's promoting Vitaphone.
All right, I'll hold it like this. There you go.
Vitaphone varieties.
I love how much attention to detail they used to put into things like this. Yeah, seriously. It's really interesting to see sort of what they felt mattered, you know, what they felt was interesting and where they thought that they could get the best advertising, you know, best bang for your buck. Are you going to the coronation? The screen's mightiest masterpiece, Norma Shearer, Tyrone Power in Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's Marie Antoinette. So here's the back of this guy. This is a little one. And then this is the other side here.
And last but not least, Red Skelton as the Fuller Brush Man. Red Skelton, it says in parentheses, MGM star.
Yes, as the Fuller Brush Man.
In Columbia, a Columbia picture. He was on loan to Columbia for this film. And on the back, it touts his radio show, his weekly radio show.
Smoke the new Raleigh 903. It's moisturized. 1, to cut down throat irritants. 2, to taste richer. Listen to Red Skelton Tuesday evenings while you smoke this cigarette. Where does Leonard find these? The internet. No.
Well, in the old days, I found them at flea markets and antique shows. And now I have done a little fishing for them on eBay.
Yeah.
And
what happened for all collectors is it used to be that you had to do these things in real life. And then the internet. And when the internet became a thing and eBay became a thing, we were getting boxes like daily. Because my dad and my mom were like, it's all here and it can come to my house. So they went a little wild and then realized they had to dial it back or we would have no space to walk in our home. But it is still exciting when you find a gem.
And you can find these, as I say, for very reasonable prices.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of a cheapskate when it comes to this stuff, unless it's something that just knocks my eyes out. You know, I want to pay in the $5 to $10 range.
Yeah. Oh, someone's saying, doesn't Tony Baxter have the time machine? He has one of them. Tony has one as well. And it's really funny because when you go, Tony's house doesn't look like a normal human's house. It's incredible. But you walk into one room and it's the time machines in there. Imagine somebody who knew none of this just walking around and goes, oh, you got a time machine in that room. It's pretty wild. It is really funny. Again, I've grown up with collectors my whole life. So to me, it's quite normal, I think. And then you go into a regular human being's house and you go, first of all, what is all this space? Second, why can I see your walls? But also, why can I put things down on your tables? Why are they not covered in stuff? My poor husband, this is a bar behind us, and my husband tries to use it as a bar. And my dad has sort of made space towards the end of it for it. But yeah, it's also just covered in stuff because everything is covered in stuff. Ryan's saying, if there was a 10th wave of the Walt Disney Treasures DVD series, what sets would you have wanted to include in it? And what bonuses would you have wanted them to have?
Well, one of them would have been kind of a miscellany disc. We would have come up with a better name than that. But for anything we missed that didn't seem to belong in in one of the other specific collections, not a Mickey Mouse cartoon, not a Zorro episode, there's some one-shot cartoons and featurettes that would have been good. And one that I definitely wanted to do was, I would have called I'm No Fool, which was the series with Jiminy Cricket on the Mickey Mouse Club. And but I wouldn't have just included those shorts. I would have included other Disney educational films and instructional films under that umbrella. And there are all kinds, like How to Catch a Cold. There's some wonderful posters for How to Catch a Cold. And of course, the story of menstruation.
Everyone's favorite. Who doesn't want that, Just for funsies. Good grief. Did you ever get to interview Margaret Hamilton?
I met her. She was a guest at Telluride the year they saluted, many years ago, the year they saluted character actors. John Carradine was there, Elisha Cook Jr., Woody Strode. I may be forgetting someone else, and the wonderful Margaret Hamilton. And we were on the same plane going home. And when the flight attendants learned who she was, they were falling over themselves, trying to take extra special care of her. This is the Wicked Witch of the West. One of the Wizard of Oz books that's come out in recent years, one of the Munchkins saved an autographed photo that she gave them during production. And she wrote a lovely inscription in fountain pen and signed it Margaret Hamilton, WWW.
I love it. I love it. The new Our Gang Blu-ray is just remarkable. I assume you met many little rascals in writing that great book I grew up reading back in the 70s and 80s. Which ones did you meet, and how did they view their overall experience?
Well, most of them were positive. Most of them had a good time and enjoyed being part of that wonderful series. Hal Roach the producer treated them nicely, always made sure they had special Christmas, gifts. And their director, their primary director, Robert McGowan, who started with the series at the very beginning in the early 20s, was kind of an uncle, an avuncular figure to them. And try to make it as much like play as possible. The ones who stayed long, and grew older, became more aware, more, conscious of what they were doing. But I didn't hear any terrible stories. Yeah. And people talk about the curse of our gang. Well, it's been overstated, I think. Yeah, there were some of them who had sad lives mostly afterwards. Awkward transition to adolescence, which, as we know, was unfortunately a very common thing. Having people talk about being a child actor, what that was like, and for many of them, unfortunately, it's not good stories. So if you survive, it's that much more impressive. Hang on, I have a new favorite question, which is, Jesse, in your honor, tell Leonard to sit up straight. I have a new favorite person out there. Sit up, Leonard. Thank you.
Slumpy. That's his new nickname, is Slumpy.
As opposed to the opening strains of 1776.
Sit down, Leonard. Yeah.
That's right.
No.
So I did meet Mary Ann Jackson, who's in that first year of talkies that are on the Blu-ray. But just briefly, But she was very, very nice. And I'm sorry I didn't get to actually sit down and have a full interview with her. My partner in that book, Dick Mann, did meet Joe Cobb, the original Don't Write Me Hate Mail. Fat kid. That's how they described him. He lived a long life and had good memories. And the notable person to come out of that first year of talkies, which is on the Classic Flicks Blu-ray, that's the one to get, the new Classic Flicks Blu-ray, the first year of talkies with our gang, Jackie Cooper, who became a major, major star. And I got to talk to him on several occasions. And he had mixed, feelings. But again, his family life was screwed up.
Yeah.
He sort of came into the picture, with, a couple of strikes against him. And considering that, did well for himself. He maintained his profile as an actor in show business, and then became a director, producer, behind the scenes. And his book, Please Don't Shoot My Dog, is a poignant book.
Yeah.
A good read. And I liked him very much.
Yeah. Again, you're going to hear all kinds of stories. And then you have the people who thankfully survived it. And you have the people like Shirley Temple, who became Shirley Temple Black, who were smart and thankfully found.
She was smart. She was born with smarts.
Yeah, she's a smart lady.
She
very
was born
smart lady.
with smarts. I swear, there's a reason that she wound up being an ambassador. First to Ghana, and I forget the other country where she served for President Reagan. And she was a diplomat when she was 5 years old.
Yeah. Welcoming
visitors and guests to the sets of her movies in Hollywood. She understood. She was an old soul, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, she was.
Yeah.
And I feel you can tell in the way she carries herself on screen. It's kind of mind-blowing to think that she is 5 years old or 6 years old, and you're watching her, and she has it. And spectacular lady. Now,
when you were very little, and I'd already started showing you The Little Rascals, Spanky McFarlane visited one time for some event, and I got to see him and chat with him. I met him a number of times, and I debated whether I should, bring you along to meet him, but I thought it would be really confusing to you then at 5 or 6 years old to meet this, older fellow who bore, scant resemblance to
the thing I'd grown up with.
Yeah. So I chose not to.
But I did meet a number of them.
Yeah.
And they signed, I have this Petey figurine thing, and a bunch of them signed it for me.
Porky signed it.
Yeah.
And Dorothy DeBorba.
Dorothy.
Who was it? Oh, what a sweet lady.
Dorothy DeBorba called you on every single birthday.
Yeah.
And you'd come home, and on your answering machine, you'd have her singing happy birthday to you. She was, again, spectacular. She was really.
And had a really sharp memory.
Of everything.
Everything that happened during the shooting of the early 30s comedies that she was in.
Yeah. That's the thing, is it's rare. Again, remember, a lot of them were very young when they were filming this stuff. Many of them just don't have that many memories of it, truthfully, because they were so young. It's not like you start, even if you're, let's say, 10, 11, 12, you might have more. But some of these kids were 5 and 6 years old. They were very young.
Some started, Spanky and Farina both started at the age of 3, I believe.
I don't remember anything from being 3, so I can only imagine for them it's a whole other thing. But yeah, it is crazy to think about what they were able to do. And again, there is something also quite magical about the fact that people still watch it. This many years later. One of our friends over here who is a D23 fan says that next weekend is the 60th anniversary of Parent Trap. And, it's funny because every day is another anniversary of something. But it is crazy to think that Parent Trap is 60 years old.
That means I must be older than that.
Yeah, but not by a lot. You're
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'm going to be 35 next week, and my mom
How
says,
is that possible?
my mom says, I don't know how that's possible when I'm only 39. Fair enough, really. Fair enough. It's a time jump. I told her not to worry about it. Do you want to let's share this as your last, and we'll save these for next time.
Okay.
No.
This. Well, another time.
This is a whole other.
Yeah. Another time, I think I did show some of the old 78 RPM records that came in cardboard sleeves and albums.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a vogue of telling stories for children, especially on these records. So this is the little sleeve insert that came with the recording of a Christmas
Alice
Carol.
Maltin's favorite, Ronald Coleman. That's my mom's boyfriend.
On Decca Records.
And it's got...
First, it has the credits for this production.
Yeah. So you got all this good stuff here.
Let me read just who else was in it with him. Ronald Coleman as Scrooge. Victor Young, musical director, the incredibly prolific Victor Young. When did he sleep? With supporting cast, sound effects, and music. Entire production directed by George Wells. George Wells, who wrote almost every episode of the Lux Radio Theater, adapting movies for 1-hour radio programs. Ronald Coleman, Hans Conried, Gail Gordon, and the other people are not as well known, but they were all stalwarts of the radio scene, and that's why they cast them. But, oh man.
I can tell my mom's approaching because I can hear musicals.
Yeah.
She blasts musicals on her phone.
Other Christmas albums include The Littlest Angel, narrated by Loretta Young, and Mr. Pickwick's Christmas as told by Charles Lawton. That's the kind of star power they were able to get to do these.
It's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. Well, friends, now next Sunday is Father's Day.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask you, do you want us to do it on Saturday? Is Saturday better? Should we skip next weekend? What would you like us to do? If you would, again, I'll ask again online, but if you would give us some sense, Alice, stop yelling.
Oh, at one of the dogs.
Oh yeah. I can hear which one she's yelling at.
Yeah.
So let us know if, as I say, if you want us to do it on Saturday instead, or some version of that. We will check in.
Should we play Groucho singing "Today, Father, is Father's Day"?
If it makes you happy, being that it is your holiday,
and we are giving you a tie. It's not much, I know, but it's just our way of showing we think you're a regular guy.
According to our mother, because according to our mother, you're our father.
You say that it was nice of us to bother, and you really shouldn't. And you really shouldn't make such a fuss. But according to our mother, you're our father, and that's good enough for us.
Ta-da!
Not as good as Groucho. Not even shouting.
He had more rehearsal than you did.
Yes.
Anyway, so we'll probably see you Saturday. That's my guess of what we'll end up doing. But either way, we will let you know. Everybody have a good week. Have a safe week. Thank you again for birthday wishes. And we'll see you soon.
Bye.